This is Come On You Reds, the Toronto FC podcast. Gareth Wheeler and Terry Dunfield with you another week. And it's not just any week. It's Darby week for Toronto FC as they take on CF Montreal. At Gareth Wheeler, at Terry_Dunfield. It was a difficult week for Toronto FC. We'll touch on what happened down in Miami. Some academy news and notes as per usual. We're approaching an international window as well, and Canadians are going to feature prominently in that fold, as well as TFC know their opponent in the Canadian Championship, and it could make for a very special occasion. How's your week, Terry? All good on your end?
Yeah, really good. Took a sec to get over maybe the Miami game, but back into a rhythm and looking forward to CF Montreal.
But we might as well start there and just rip off the Band-Aid, and then we can kind of push on with things because, you know, there's been a number of low points in this season. There's no denying it. The DC loss was a difficult one. Chris Armas being let go, not easy for the club as well. And it just seemed like Saturday was, again, one of those nights that just goes down as, you know, something that started bad and just continually kind of perpetuated and got worse as the game went on. A 3-1 loss down in Miami. At times the team looked connected, but overall, just a complete effort. The focus simply wasn't there. What's your big takeaway from the game, Terry, the 3-1 loss?
I thought we gave up some pretty crappy goals, to be honest. We didn't make it really hard for Miami. I thought we almost beat ourselves a little bit. And since Javier's taken over, I think the Inter Miami game, Philadelphia 3-0, were the only times we weren't competitive. We weren't really at it. And he's been in charge now, 10 games, give or take. So, you know, 2 performance. So 80% of the time, the team have been very good, have looked organized, and have probably deserved more points. But I'd say on the day, we were well beaten. I thought we could have taken points in Atlanta midweek. But we just, again, defending some poor defensive errors. It's difficult to chase games. And I thought we just looked a little bit tired, too, in that Florida heat.
And the first time in the season, it's after that first goal went in, it was just a massive let off, right? Like it didn't seem like, okay. And TFC's conceded. It's been a problem all season long, conceding the first goal, but the shoulders dropped, the heads dropped, and the confidence wasn't there. Is this just a product of things not going the team's way? It's very rare for this group of players where things haven't gone their way. And it just seems like a little bit of belief kind of went away with that first goal conceded.
Yeah, I'd use the word belief, a little bit fragile maybe. And we're just finding a way right now where we're trying to pick up points. And to concede in that fashion is difficult to come back from. I remember one time we were playing at BMO. Torsten Frings had been out for a while. He's coming back into the team. We dropped him back into the back three, and he was going to be our savior. And I think it was Adoro nicked the ball off him after 6 seconds, and it goes into the back of the net, and the whole team's like, and this was in the middle of that 0-9 run at the start of the year. And it was just one of those moments where when Inter Miami scored that first goal, the defending could have been a little bit tighter. We started okay. It just deflated the group a little bit. Having said that, we created a couple half chances in the first half.
Yeah, and Omar Gonzalez didn't shy away from that. And he's, one of the leaders in this group. And he said, just like, it alluded to the fact that maybe the effort wasn't completely there the entire game. When you went through, and you've been there before with Toronto FC, you understand what the expectations are like in this city. What would be the mindset? What would be the reaction? Is it perhaps Darby week comes at the right time, Terry, and all the cliches apply, throw form out the window. But, when you have a leader like Omar, speaking up and you have a big game ahead, perhaps something that will rattle some cages in a positive way.
Yeah, I think accountability is a big one. And Javier held his hand up and said, maybe I got the lineup wrong. Omar's, I made a mistake. Luke Singh knows he can do better in those moments too. But I think the big one is sticking together. And really, it has to be all for one. And players aren't isolated. There's no cliques in the changing room. And that you work really hard on the team spirit one. And I think a massive game against CF Montreal, who are ticking over okay against our rivals, can galvanize the group. And like you said, league form, the standings, you can just push aside and say, you know what, we want to stop our rivals.
Yeah. I get the angst of the fans. There's not too much more to go over, quite frankly, that game last week. But the funny thing is, other clubs go through this on a regular basis. This has just been so rare in this city over the last 6 years that it's quite shocking. And the reaction is quite over the top. It's like when your club loses or my club loses in the Premier League, Man City or Manchester United. Like,
I love how you're putting Man United in Man City's bracket.
Oh, easy there. Easy. We'll get to that in a bit. But the expectations there, like every time that United drops points, it's like the sky is falling. And it kind of feels like that way with Toronto FC in terms of MLS standards. It's like when you aren't winning games and picking up points regularly, that's the sentiment, that's the feel. And I get the fan reaction because of that, because the standard has been set so high. You look at the players accumulated in this team, the talent is certainly there. The payroll, the commitment by the club to these players is certainly there. So you come to expect a better outcome. So that's why, for me, the response or the reaction is quite predictable at this point.
Yeah, for sure. From our fans, 100%. You look at the CV of all of our players. These players aren't used to losing; they're used to winning trophies. And at the moment where we really need to dig in and find a way to get a result with time running out. A lot of our players haven't been in this situation before. It reminds me a little bit of, remember Middlesbrough's squad that got relegated? I believe they went to the final of the UEFA Cup with like Janino, Ravanelli, like this, like you said, our squad's got so much talent, but when you're near the bottom of the league, it's a little bit different than when you're flying at the top.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect. It's certainly playing out that way. Javier Perez today, via his media availability, asked fans not to give up on the team quite yet, and says that he firmly believes that good results are coming their way. Now it's about going out and showing it. A Darby match is a perfect time. You have the platform. You're going to have the eyes of a lot of people, even casuals who will just tune in to see, Toronto FC take on Montreal. So for me, hearing that from the manager, it's a plea to the fans, sure, but that's a message being sent directly to your players as well, isn't it?
It is. And I think the players have to go and perform. And rather than just looking just at that Inter Miami game, if you look at the body of work under Javier Perez, and a couple of our fans have hit me up on Twitter saying, where's the process? You're talking about the process all the time. Well, for 80% of the games, it's actually been, the teams look pretty organized and have been close. So big picture under Javier, I think it's okay. Now's the time to go and get the result. And to do that, like you say, that the players now need to step up, buy in to Javier's methodology, organization, and just go out and make some plays when it really matters in our own box, in the opposition box, and work together. And with their talent, as you said, Wheels, we should be okay. And I think just that, again, as we already said, the excitement, the motivation of Montreal should have our team's spidey sense tingling.
You hope so. If you don't get that reaction, then you're going to start asking even more questions. And just about fan reaction, listen, the club, pundits, the players, any day of the week, they take that angry reaction over apathy. Like, that's the last thing that you want. You expect you and your mates in the pub or on the patio or even online typing away to show that fire, to show that spirit, because it shows that you care, right? It's when people stop caring and it gets quiet, that's when you really have problems on your hands. And we're not there yet. Like, look, this is like a bad season for Toronto FC. And I think it's incumbent on all the players involved to do something about it coming home. Javier Perez is still not ruling out a playoff spot. I'm not sure I'm completely aligned. I'm not ruling it out 100%, but Terry, I mean, just looking at the table, it's a difficult sight to see with so many teams between you and a playoff spot. but it's about performance right now. It's about players showing that they deserve to be here next season, whether it's under Perez or someone else, that they're willing to sacrifice, like the players that have come before them, for this club, for this badge. I think there's a lot of onus on the players here to show that they want it as much as everyone else does.
Well put.
Yeah. Just really quickly on that, as a player, does that resonate, or is that just like a pundit or an analyst or a commentator or a fan talking here? Like, as a player, do you realize, you know what, I need to fight for my job? There's something bigger at play here than just me. Does that resonate?
Yeah. What resonates is, if we're going to pull through this, we have to do it together. If we start all doing our own thing and playing for our own futures, then players are going to be exposed, and that there's going to be space. And, if you do your own thing, I do my own thing, you might be okay. I might not be okay, because I'm going to find myself in a difficult spot. But if we all buy into Javier Perez's game plan and work together with our quality, and there's real motivation to fight for the crest, then everybody's going to win. And I think if we can achieve that against Montreal, and we've seen a lot of signs of that, then the results will come. And but if everyone starts doing their own thing and there's clicks, and I'm not saying that's the case, then it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, I'm with you. The one thing that fans come to expect, if you lose a game, then so be it. I think rational fans just need to see that effort, see that commitment game to game. And you're not going to win every match. That's just the way that things are. And realistic people understand, just like leave it out there on the field.
To your point about that too, that commitment and playing for something more than yourself, that screams engagement. And now you can kind of build off of that as well. And there is enough time. There are enough games. Who knows? But like, let's really focus on Montreal.
Yep. Let's turn our focus on to CF Montreal, back in the province of Quebec for the first time in quite some time. We've experienced these Montreal, Toronto games inside the bubble. Even earlier this season in Fort Lauderdale, TFC lost the opening match. 4-2 was the final. And Montreal quietly having a decent year, and a lot of shade was thrown their way. MLSsoccer.com, their preseason power rankings had Montreal dead last. They've answered the bell, and they've lost some players over the way. What's your assessment of where Montreal is at, and how their season has gone thus far? 7 wins, 7 draws, 7 losses. I like the number 7, but not when it's associated to Montreal.
Well, I like 3 sevens, and that suits us well. The last 3 times we've gone to Montreal, we've
casino. Oh, I thought you might go to the casino.
We got to talk about the baby stag as well. I don't know how I connect with casino and baby stag. So when I shut my eyes, and my big picture thought on Montreal is similar to yours in that.
By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, Terry is actually closing his eyes. It's amazing.
Montreal don't give a whole bunch away. They've been close in every game. They haven't really been blown out. So did a little bit of digging. Their last 21 games have been decided by a goal. And I think Wilfred Nancy's found a system. It was at the start of the year 3-5-2. It's more of a 3-4-3 right now, where they've got an extra man at the back. But in their last 21 games, they've been real close, and they've found a little bit of form. They've done that without Kyoto up top as well. So they've shown they've got a little bit of depth. Wanyama has been outstanding for me. He's no longer playing for himself. I think he's found a role within the group. Piet beside him in midfield that gives him stability. There's some nice passing lanes out of the back. They're a real solid team right now.
Some top defenders as well. Struna, the Slovenian international, has been very good. What a pickup from Houston. They've done some of these trades within MLS that have really come off well for them. Kamal Miller, the Canadian international. There's some stability there. What's interesting too is they're just rolling with Canadian goalkeepers. James Pantemis is the number 1. They had this Sebastian Breza, another young kid. They called back Jonathan Sirois from the CPL. It's just Diop has gone bye-bye. He was released, and now they're just rolling with Canadians at that position as well. And other young Canadians are also getting a look in that team as well. Joel Waterman's done well when called upon at the back. So that's good to see that, they're kind of creating a little bit of identity. I think that Montreal over the years, like after the true battles, the Eastern Conference playoffs, and when things were really at a fever pitch between TFC and Montreal, there was a little bit of an identity there. They kind of went away from that, but I think it was a process that was set underway by Thierry Henry, and Nancy's just basically taken it over and put his own stamp on it a little bit.
Yeah, I think I love what you said, Wheels. I think they got away from their kind of family identity, and there was always like a close-knit unit within Montreal, and I think under Remy Gard they lost that. They went back to it under Biello. They had that under Biello, lost that under Gard. We're kind of in between with Henry, and then promoting Wilfred Nancy to that role is that there's a real unity within Montreal, is my feeling, and it's almost us against the world. They play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. As you said, they've made some great signings. Mihailovic has been awesome.
Yeah,
I think he's the player that unlocks things for them, picks up some great spots in between the lines. They spent a lot of money on him. I think a few people, like $1 million of GAM for him is a lot, but he's producing, having his best year statistically, 4 goals, 6 assists. Kamal Miller, he's been a rock for Canada as well. He'll probably play minutes in these qualifiers in September, I'd imagine. So no, it's a solid team, but I think there's opportunity in there as well. Maybe some space down the sides of their center backs, those back three. Maybe TFC can find some nice 1v1 situations for Soteldo, find them a little bit exposed in transition. But I think for TFC, the biggest one is let's not make it easy for them. No crappy goals. Let's not make mistakes that are punished, give the ball away cheap. Really just give our quality an opportunity to shine through a little bit. Like when Greg took over, you knew Javinko and Altidore were going to create chances. Just make sure we're in the game.
Yeah. By the way, we're recording this podcast before Canada's squad is announced. Zachary Broguillard actually will not be part of the team. A little bit of a scoop right there. But another one of those Canadian players that stepped up. Mason Toy is a significant loss for CF Montreal, leading the way with 7 goals on the season. Did in his shoulder. Good for Montreal to sign him to a new contract. If they're in a playoff position, Toy could possibly return. You mentioned Kyoto. They've been playing without him. He did his hamstring, but it sounds like he's going to be available for Friday night. Maybe not from the start, Terry, but he's a dangerous player. He certainly will be playing for Honduras against Canada next week at BMO Field. There's no doubt about that. So that's the one area of their team where they don't have that out and out number 9 right now. And their attack has been struggling to a certain degree. Other than that crazy game against the New York Red Bulls with the retake, like they haven't been able to score goals. So if you're looking for Toronto FC, that's actually an advantage. Hopefully you can keep the play in front of you because they don't really have that threat unless Kyoto comes onto the field of getting in behind. It seems like in those situations on the counter in transition, those quick pacey players getting in behind the TFC back line, that's caused them more problems than kind of, playing with the game in front of you.
Yeah. I can see that. Lapalainen's been out injured. They've brought in a target man from Norway, Janssen, who's been okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Broguillard's probably their threat vertically, but he's an interesting one. He'll get forward and he can look $1 million going that way, but he also might give up a little bit of space as well. I think he's a little bit of a free spirit. He's not really a structure guy, so there might be opportunities down his side to exploit. But I think you have to pay him some respect and. He's great getting forward as well, especially once he picks up speed.
So Javier Perez also disclosed that Chris Mavinga is back. Our thoughts were with Chris dealing with some family issues that he documented himself over the course of his social media accounts. Good to see him back with the team. Great guy. Eric Zavaleta, Subasa Endo, and Dom Dwyer all back in the mix. So this is the $1 million question for Toronto FC. if you're Perez, what do you do on Friday night? Do you try to send a message based on what happened last week? Or is that in the past? You have some new players coming in. Let's just figure out something that's going to potentially work in terms of naming your starting 11 and coming up with the proper game plan for this match.
Yeah, I
Tough
mean,
one.
we've had more or less it's games on a Friday and on a Saturday, enough time off where freshness shouldn't be an issue. We kind of hypothetically put together how many points we'd like out of the last 4 games. That didn't quite pan out. I'd probably just draw a line in the sand on Monday and say, look, guys, we're focusing on Friday. It's almost like a cup final, and I'm going to pick the best players that are in the best form that fit this game against Montreal. And those would be kind of my guiding principles. I'd probably leave maybe a weapon in my back pocket to bring off the bench as well.
Right. I bring Chris Mavinga. I bring Chris Mavinga straight back into the team.
Probably.
I do. I lean on a player like Michael Bradley. He's definitely in my 11. I think that right now you need to lean on the leaders, the personalities, the characters in this team to see you through difficult times. Maybe I'm old school when it comes to that approach, but I'll take reliable in terms of I know the effort that I'm going to get on the field rather than an X factor right now. I just try to provide some sort of structure and platform for the team to go out and have some success.
We spoke about that a little bit for that New England game where Michael was left out, and maybe we missed his leadership qualities a little bit. It's a tough one. And then how do you fit in Saltaldo? How do you fit in Pozuelo? What does that look like away from home? So I think if you're going to play those two, you need stability underneath them for sure. We'll see what that looks like.
I was kind of thinking about this to myself, and this is a personal opinion and nothing more. I almost want to play Saltaldo and Pozuelo just in attack in some kind of two. I know you don't have that out and out striker there, but when it comes to the defensive structure, it would help if they're further up the field and you have 8 players who are committed to defending behind the ball. Just my thought, you might have to tinker with your formation a little bit, 4-4-2 more like it, but maybe it's like more like a 4-1-1. That's just my opinion on what I've seen from this group and how to maybe mitigate or try to, play to the strengths of this group.
Be interesting to hear what all our fans say, but I agree with what you're saying. I think from defense,
you do. Wow.
Defensively, yeah, that probably makes sense. The only hole I'd pick in it would be every time I've seen Saltaldo at his best, it's down the left-hand side. Whether he drifts out there from a central position and then defensively, both Pozuelo and Saltaldo almost screen Wanyama and Piet if they play and allow their back three to have the ball, and then we look to counter from there. But yeah,
I think there's a way to do it. I think there's a way to do it though. Like, you can start in the middle and drift out to the left, because when he drifts out to the left, there's so much focus. And then what I want to see in attack is just more Larea down that right-hand side. Like, he should be almost like your third winger, but he's just coming from a deeper position. It just requires movements. It turns into more of a 3-box-3, but that's kind of the best way I see it forward. For me, the only problematic part, Terry, is if you have an Achara, you leave him off, he's coming off the bench, or a Dwyer, you maybe lack a little bit of a presence to get in behind that back line. But right now, what's the biggest issue? It's keeping the ball out of the net. And I'm much more concerned about that defensive structure right now and just having the ability to stay in games.
Yeah, I'd say even ahead of keeping the ball out of the net is everybody bringing all those pieces together and everybody being happy and enjoying their football out there. I'd say that's number one, but then keeping it out of the net. I think Achara is one of your first names on the team sheet, so you got to find a way to get him in. Kamal Lawrence loves to get forward, so Saltaldo ahead of him on the left. Do they get in each other's way? I don't know. I like Mavinga back in the side, which allows Kamal Lawrence, who's been great, to get forward. Michael gives you a little bit of stability in the middle of the park. So yeah, there's definitely options, and Javier Perez is and his technical staff is how do you bring together all these skill sets, personalities, different emotional levels. How do you find the best kind of units within the team all over the field?
It is the 51st meeting between Toronto and Montreal.
What's the record? Tell us. Have you got the record?
25 wins for Toronto FC. So we won half the games. So at least that bodes well, right? The next most, the next most frequent team TFC has played is Vancouver at 30. So, I mean, this is the most familiar matchup. We understand the stakes. We understand what's on the line. Friday night, 7:30 from Montreal.
Well, I wish we could.
I'll be watching.
I wish I could go to that. Seriously.
I think last road trip to Montreal before everything got crazy, like I feel like the entire TFC production team went with exception of us. So they owe us a trip at some point. When that will come.
Very subtle. I like it.
Let's be honest. No one owes us anything, but it would be a nice touch. I think we could do some damage in Montreal.
Speaking of nice touches, you notice what I got in the background there?
You have a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Yeah. Where did that come from?
From Mom. She was visiting. She left them, and I was like, Wheels has this huge tree every time we zoom out.
I actually moved the tree into a new room because this is a completely new backdrop, because I got booted out of my office because it's now being turned into a baby room. So
congrats.
Thanks, buddy. We're there. Like, we're in the home stretch. We are weeks away. And it got to that point where Brennan was like, my wife Brennan was like, this needs to get done. So I had to ship all my stuff over. So I'm still getting familiar with the new surroundings, but I brought the fake tree with me. How does that sound?
Oh, it's fake. That makes me feel better.
Hey, does it look real? This looks real?
Okay, everyone wants to know, what was the highlight of the baby stag? What did I miss out on?
Hanging out with the boys, buddy. It was just hanging out with my guys. I just laugh. It was great. The Niagara Falls, I'll tell you this. We just went down to Niagara for the night. Couldn't even get into the casino. What? There was a lineup to get into a lineup. That place was jumping. The entire city. You were lining up everywhere. So it was good to see, to get into bars, clubs, everything. So
I was just going to say the lineup did you a favor, saved you some money, man.
Yeah. Well, I managed to make it in on the Sunday. So,
and how'd it go?
Did some damage, buddy. It was red all day until it wasn't. And then things went the other way, and Wheeler ends up in the black. No, that's the one thing over the course of COVID. I think we've all experienced this to different degrees. You just miss hanging out with your friends, So the fact that we were all able to come together and have a decent time, before the baby comes. I was very thankful for everyone to come out. Unfortunately, Terry couldn't, but he gave us his well wishes as he's been busy with the TFC Academy, which I want to go to in a second. But we now know, because it was played over the course of the weekend, you might have gone to the match. York United Masters football in the Canadian Championship, first round. York United beat the semi-professional team. So for the first time ever, might be 51 with Montreal, for the first time ever, a true Toronto derby. TFC, York United. It sounds like that game's going to be played September 22nd as TFC enters this year's competition in the Canadian Championship. TFC York, bring it on. Sign me up for this. I'm all over it.
Yeah, it's going to be class. I've already spoken to Jimmy Brennan, head coach.
Yeah, did you?
United, like 6 times, 3 times before the game, 3 times after. He's so excited to come back. It'll be a great test for his players. I came out just excited as a soccer fan to watch York United play Masters, and with TFC on the line for both clubs. What a huge present if you win the game. And it was kind of a nice moment for Masters before the game. You don't necessarily always get this in our broadcasts. Watching the Masters players come out through the tunnel, sing the national anthem, waving to their friends and family. The stand was packed. It was a nice occasion.
That's what the Canadian Championship is all about. It's expanding. If you haven't been watching, jump on now. You can watch on One Soccer Thursday night. It's Pacific taking on the Vancouver Whitecaps, so CPL against MLS. Where that's a local derby as well. I know one's on Vancouver Island. Pacific is located in Langford, British Columbia, which is just outside Victoria. But this seems like it's going to be a real rivalry. The game is sold out at Pacific, so not at BC Place, but at Starlight Stadium. And they've had this campaign that they're running. The game goes Thursday night, by the way. Hopefully this podcast is out in time. But they have this campaign. If you are a Pacific fan and have a Whitecaps kit, you can bring the Whitecaps kit to the game and they'll exchange it for a Pacific jersey. That's how you develop rivalry. And I hope that TFC and York have some fun with this as well, right? Like York's a new kid on the block. They're CPL, like going up against the big bad Toronto FC. I think it's going to be great for both clubs, to be honest with you.
That's class. I want to say New York City did that with New York Red Bulls when they first came into the league and said, we'll take your Red Bulls jersey and give you a New York City one and something else. But yeah, I spoke with Rob Friend, one of the owners of Pacific FC, former national team player, and he just said he's so nervous. He said he's shitting it. And as you said, the game sold out in hours. Pacific are top of the league right now in the CPL, so their form's great. Vancouver looks as though they've turned it around. So great timing for the game. I'd probably say, Wheels, with my analyst hat on, Pacific are the favorites.
What? Come on.
Come
on.
And I said to Rob, too, if you win and you get to the next round, I'll be at the next round game. I'm coming out. I'm coming to watch the game at Starlight.
Amazing. It should be special. That's coming up Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Coverage begins on One Soccer at 9:30. That's going to be great. But TFC York United is going to be great because there still are connections between the clubs. Obviously, Jim Brennan, TFC legend, his name's on the wall down at BMO Field. And a number of players grew up playing in the TFC Academy as well and have gone on to try something else out or go a different path, or maybe their path ended at Toronto FC. So there's ties that bind, right? And York University is not too far away from BMO Field. It's just it's going to be a very cool experience. I do think TFC will be an overwhelming favorite, but it's a cup. It's a cup competition, right? We always say the magic of the FA Cup. We did the magic of the Canadian Championship. Cavalry beat Whitecaps 2 years ago in 2019. So the game will be at BMO Field. Yes. Now they did like a coin toss, I believe, to decide where some of these games will be played. So CF Montreal will go out and play in Halifax. At Halifax Wanderers, which would be really cool to see as well.
Tariq Mohammed, he's the academy graduate that plays for York United. Nice opportunity for him. And I think, like, if I'm a York United player and I watch TFC, I watch them on TV right now, and I'm like, you know what? I could play for TFC. I'm good enough. Well, now, you know what? You've got an opportunity. Players like Alistair Johnston, Max Ferrari's been excellent. Let's see what you're like against the big boys. Jimmy Brendan, let's see what you're like against Javier Perez. You're coming back to TFC. Well, here's your opportunity. And then, putting my washed up player hat on, all players want is an opportunity to see, how good am I? Am I at that level? And here's your opportunity. It'll be. I love how the Canadian Championship is just growing. It's getting bigger, like you said, Wheels. We're not quite the FA Cup, but we're starting to create and build our own history.
And obviously, this competition, if the playoffs are out of reach, they probably are. This is your road into the CONCACAF Champions League next season. If you're Toronto FC, it's a trophy. This tournament will hold increased importance this 2021 season. We just have a couple minutes left. Any academy updates to deliver?
No, I think the biggest one is we're finding a rhythm right now. We're week 11 since coming back. It's been great. We're playing in the OPDL in Ontario League. Up to our under 16 team. They play in the under 17 league. Our under 17s, under 19s, they play in League One Ontario. And the resistance has been great. The feedback's been great about that league. Probably the biggest news is in 10 days, our under 15s and under 17 team will leave OPDL and join MLS next. which is pretty much
I'm hearing a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much only MLS teams. We're just going through some of the details of how travel's going to look. Our first two games are Montreal home and away. So yeah, we'll be going down to Montreal. We're away our first game with the little dudes, and excited for that sort of mid-September time.
That'll be your trip to Montreal, not for the TFC CF Montreal senior game. They're like, just go and coach, Terry. It's almost as good. So good luck with that. And we'll see what the next steps are for MLS next. An exciting initiative we've been hearing and reading a lot about. Good luck to the players also going off on international duty. We'll make sure we pod next week before Canada plays Honduras next Thursday night at BMO Field. Congrats to Oso and Richie being named to the Canadian squad. It hasn't been announced yet. At least I haven't seen it, but fully expect Kamar Lawrence to be in action in those World Cup qualifiers for Jamaica, and Eric Zavaleta for El Salvador. El Salvador, Canada at BMO Field on September 8th.
Oh, dang. And if you get close to Kyoto, if he comes off the bench, it's okay to leave the boots in on him.
You can't be cheering for a little bit of a niggle in his hamstring on Friday nights.
Well, so we'll break down the squad in the next pod.
In the next pod, because everything will be clear and we'll be able to break down the CF Montreal Darby match. By the way, it's the 401 Darby. I don't know who these people are that are trying to push the Canadian Classique on us. Just no, I've been around since day one. I've never called it that once. I think I went on a rant last year on this pod. It's not the Canadian Classique. It's the 401 Darby, right?
401 Darby, that's it. We might have some inside scoop too. Canada, I believe, are training at BMO Field. So I'll see if I can get in the session.
I might have some scoop. Or do I?
That's why you're the insider.
Am I? No one's ever called me the insider. And maybe by that time, as the transfer window across European football slams close next week, we'll know if Cristiano Ronaldo is an absolute turncoat and joins your blue side of Manchester and Manchester City. It might be done by the time this podcast goes up. I can't believe it. I feel like my heart is being ripped out of my chest. Ronaldo to City? You have got to be kidding me.
I believe Harry Kane's feeling the same way as you. He got binned for yes. The game's changed. PSG are willing to let Mbappe go, but bring in Messi at 34. The business side, 1-0.
Crazy. 1-0. I think it's more like a 6-0 thrashing, buddy. Anyways, a lot going on. Like Javier Perez said, just keep your chin up. Get back after this. TFC against Montreal on Friday night. After the international break, they take on Cincinnati, and then 3 straight home games where they're going to need you, the fans, to get behind this team and support them and do your part, which obviously there's no doubt you will. But the team just needs a shot in the arm right now. And hopefully it comes via a Darby match win on Friday night. Good stuff, Dunfield. Good to see you. Flowers are beautiful. Say out of the mums for us, okay?
Okay, will do. I was already excited for this big game on Friday. I'm even more, Jack. I love these. TFC.
I didn't even put on my monster truck voice. Friday. Thanks to our producer, Erica, as well. On behalf of everyone here at Come On Your Reds, I am Gareth Wheeler. Wheels up. Enjoy the Darby.